heard them flying around and even used them yourself, but do you exactly know the difference? I came here yesterday to saw you or to see you. Don't worry about it. And they, you were, we were, they were. Does she know the place well? She experienced? And you can say, what? She's been living there for years.
Preview.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to Mark English with Abby. I'm very happy to have you here, and today's topic is specifically for intermediate students, and it focuses on grammar, especially the continuous tenses. We're going to cover the past continuous, the present perfect continuous, and the past perfect continuous. These are I was working, I have been working, and I had been working. Maybe you heard them flying around and even used them yourself, but do you exactly know the difference? If you don't, you're in luck, because we're going to learn all of them, and at the end, just to test your understanding, I'm going to give you 6 or 7 questions. It's a quick quiz, and I'm sure you're going to get it. Without further ado, let's begin. So as you can see, I have was, has been, and had been plus ing. This ing goes to all of them, okay? Was plus ing, has been plus ing, and had been plus ing. Well, of course, to use ing, you always need verbs. Like, come, sleep, eat. Verbs like this, okay? You don't have to worry about their past. You don't have to worry about anything because we are always using ing. Oh, I just remembered. One other mistake that I see most students make is after they say to, they worry about what kind of verb to put. Is it past, present, or future? Like they say, I came here yesterday to saw you or to see you. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter what tense it is. If you have to, always use verb 1, okay? Whatever the tense, it doesn't matter. After to, we always use verb 1. We don't add ing, we don't do anything. So at least, don't worry about this. You're safe. Just put the word, put the verb, and you're good. So when we look at the first one, I have was here, but here I have added where. We have were and we have was. Where and was plus ing. Why do I have was? Because we use was with I, he, she, it. Where with you, we, and they. You were, we were, they were. I was, he was, she was. So that's the only reason I have these two. And then we put our verbs and then we add the ing. Let's look at the example now. So you see, the first one says, I was working when you called me. I was working when you called me. So your friend is complaining about you not answering his calls. So the next day he sees you and he says, hey, last night I called you, but you didn't answer. What's the reason? You can say, oh, I'm sorry. I was working when you called me. You see, I was busy. When? At that specific time. By the time my phone was ringing, I was working. I was doing something. I was in the middle of doing it. It wasn't done, but I was in the middle of it. So when you have these kind of events, you can use past continuous tense. Specific time. It was continuous and it was at a specific time. Yeah, that's the most important part to remember, specific time. Second one, let's look at similar scenario. So the second one says, your brother ate all the food in the house. So when you got up, there's nothing to eat. You asked him, where is the food? He said, I'm sorry, I ate it. And you ask him, why didn't you tell me? He said, oh, I'm sorry. So you were sleeping when I ate. So by the time he was eating, I was sleeping. You can actually make it both past continuous. You were sleeping while, but if both actions are going together, you can say while, okay? So you were sleeping while I was eating, okay? So yeah, it was happening at a specific time. That's what you need to remember. If you want to make it a question, it's very simple. Just put was here, were here, okay? Switch the subject and these auxiliary verbs. So, was I working when you called me? Was I working when you called me? Were you sleeping while I ate or when I ate? And you have a question. Is it clear?
I was watching when you were born.
Okay, when we look at the second one, we have, but next to it, I've written this, v. So this is to show you when you contract or make a short form of have, you have this. So put your subject here and you say have, and then you put your verb 3. But you don't make it short if you're talking about ownership. something you have. If you have a house, just say, I have a house. You never say, I have a house, okay? So we only make it short when we make perfect tenses. So we have and we have has. Again, short form of has is just this, okay? So you can say she's something. This actually could trick you because it has two meanings. It could be she is or she has. If I say beautiful, she's beautiful, and this S is. But if I have a verb and I say come, you don't say she is come. So she has come. So we only contract this verb to have when we have perfect tense, so don't get that twisted. Don't let that confuse you. So we have or has plus been plus verb ing. Have or has plus been verb ing. And we use it for duration or length of time. When you want to tell me for how long you did something, the time it took, and then you just want to put so much emphasis on the duration, the length of time. For example, if I want to talk about my experience and teaching, I can say, I have been teaching English. I have been teaching English for this long. Some books tell you you only use this for something that started in the past and continues till the present, and maybe like you're doing it still, but I disagree. It could be for actions that just stopped recently. Because if you see me with my puffy face and you ask me what I was doing, I can say I've been sleeping because I'm not talking about a specific time. You're asking me what happened to my face, and I'm telling you it's the result of sleep for some time. I've been sleeping for maybe 3 hours or for this long. So we use this to say for how long. Imagine your friend, you had an appointment with him and he came 30 minutes late or maybe an hour late, and you're so angry, and you don't say, I was waiting for you. No, I have been waiting for you, because you're saying from this point to this point, okay? So the duration is always there. Length of time needs to be given emphasis. So I've been waiting for you for 3 minutes. Maybe if you see a person that you love and like you can't wait to be with them, you want to tell them how much you appreciate them. You can say, I've been waiting for you for my whole life. I've been waiting for a person like you my whole life. So you have or has plus been plus verb ing. We use this to talk about duration or length of time.
I've been waiting for you for a very long time.
If you get the concept, now let's look at our example sentences. The first one says, you've been talking about it forever. You have been talking about it forever. Forever, for a long time.
We've been talking about it for 20 minutes.
So, your friend is telling you, hey man, I bought the car. Finally, man. You've been talking about it forever. You haven't stopped talking about it forever. He wants to tell him for a very long time, you were telling me that you would buy a car continuously. That's why we call this present perfect continuous. So you've been talking about it for a long time, or forever. That's the first one. Second one, she has been living there for years. She's been living there for years. But yeah, I get it. Sometimes when you learn grammar, you want to hear every single word, but that's not how they say it. So it's so good to pay attention to the pronunciation. So she has been living there for years. This is it. This is the full form. But when they speak, they say she's been living there for years. She's been living there for years. She's been living there for years. Americans speak very fast. She's been living there for years.
She said she's been living there for more than a year.
Good. Okay. So maybe we're going for a vacation in this place, and then you're telling me your sister is there. And I ask you, does she know the place well? She experienced? And you can say, what? She's been living there for years. Again, you see, for years is telling you for how long. Duration, length of time. Got it? So this is for specific time. At one point, something was happening. This is for some time, for a length of time, something was happening. So the difference is very clear. Good. Now let's look at the third one. Now the last one. Had been plus verb ing. Had only has two usages, by the way. Or those are the usages I can think of right now. But the first one is to say that you owned something in the past. The other one is to make perfect tenses. What tense? Past perfect tenses, to be exact. I had eaten in jar or I had eaten some food, or I had been eating some food. Okay? So that's the only places you see it. So, but what does it mean? You just changed have and has only to had. And we don't have two words like this because whether if it's he, she, it's, it doesn't matter if it's a past, they all use had, okay? And I have written ID here to tell you the contraction of had is this. I'd done something. Again, like contractions could be tricky because I'd could be I had and then verb 3 or I would. Okay? If I'd seen you talking to my sister, I would have killed you. Okay? So add here is I had. If I had seen you. Okay? Oh man, I'd die. I'd die. Like I'd die. I would die. Okay? I'd rather go blind home, she says, the musician. So I'd rather is I would rather. So I'd has two contractions. Again, if you're talking about ownership, you never contract it. You just say I had a house. I had a car. Never at a house. Okay? Good. So what's the difference here? It says before another action. So here I was saying I have been doing something. I have been teaching English for the past 5 years, 6 years. That's it, one action. But if something else follow it, if I want to continue my sentence and tell you something else happened after that, and there are two actions, I use this past perfect continuous. The first one, continued, stopped, and then something else followed it. Okay? Okay, so you see, I read, okay, for a long time. I read for a long time, and then I made this video, or I am making this video right now. So I can say, I had been reading before I started making this video. I had been reading before I started making this video. If making video wasn't part of the sentence, I can just say, I've been reading. That's it. What have you been doing? I've been reading. Okay? But now we have the second action. Because of that, we have to use past perfect continuous, which is this. You have two actions. Before it, something else was happening. The second sentence is always past. I ate. But before that, something else was happening. What? I had been doing something before I ate. Okay? I had been thinking about this for a long time before I called you. I called you. I had been thinking. Length of time is still there. Okay? Good. Okay. I'd been trying to figure her out. I've been trying to know the kind of person she is before I married her. Okay? So I've been trying to examine her, see how she talks. Maybe, I don't know, trying to get as much as information as I could before I married her. Okay? But see, I've studied her, and then I married her. Oh, married is here. So the first one, I've studied her, needs to change to I had been studying her. Okay? I had been studying her before I decided to marry her. Whatever. So you have two actions. That's it.
But I bet I hated my job even more than you. And I've been doing it for over 30 years.
So let's look at our examples here. I had been using my computer for 5 years when I sold it, or by the time I sold it. Okay? So I used my computer for 5 years continuously, and then I sold it. The second action is here. But if we hadn't had this second action, we can just say, I've been using my computer for 5 years, and you're fine. You could still be using it, or you could just stop using it. Okay? Good. Last one. It says, he hadn't been working. This is negative. I put it here on purpose just to kind of give you a little flavor. He hadn't been working in that company for long when he left. So, he got hired. He worked there for a very short time, and then he said, I've had enough. And he left. He quit. So here, he wasn't doing it. It's also for negative. So he hadn't been working in that company for long when he left. By the time he said goodbye and left, he hadn't stayed in that company for a long time. Even for negative, you can use it. Okay?
I know Miss Jameson hadn't been feeling herself, so I thought I would just stop by, check in on him.
We hadn't been dating for long when she dumped me. That sucks to be you, but yeah, you can use that. Yeah. What else? If you want to ask someone's experience, you always come here. For how long have you been working in this company if you're still working? okay? But if it's a crime scene and the police want to ask you, they say, okay, what were you doing at the time of the crime, or at the time of the shooting? You see, the shooting is instant activity. It's just at specific time.
Dr. Merchant, what were you doing when Parker and I found you in your cabin?
So this is how we use them. This is to say what was happening at specific time in the past. Specific time. Underline it. This is to say the duration or the length of time. For how long it happened, and we want to put exaggeration or like show people it went on for some time. Okay? They've been dating for 10 years. Okay? That's a long time. Last one. It's the same with this, but there is something else following it. Okay? Like there's a second action that followed. So when you have these, you use them. Simple. So this is the difference, and they're very simple. Now we're going to do exercise. Okay, I hope you understand it, and you're going to answer every single question. It's so simple. Just answer by saying was doing something, has or have been doing something, or had been doing something. Okay? Don't forget specific time, length of time, and 2 actions. Okay? So now I'm going to give you these sentences. First question. I working for the past 2 weeks. What do we say? I was working. I has been working. I have been working. You know the difference. Or I had been working. Which one do we use? Oh, okay. You have to say I have been working for the past 2 years as the right answer. Because I'm telling you what happened. Started from past till now. Or it just stopped in the past even. Okay? Nothing else followed it, at least in this sentence. So if you say I have been working, you got the right answer. Question number 2. I reading when I heard the noise. I reading when I heard the noise. I had been reading. I have been reading. I was reading. Which one is the answer? I was reading when I heard the noise. You see, I heard the noise, and at that specific time, I was in the middle of reading. Again, specific time. We talked about that. So if you say this, you got the right answer. Number 3, she sleeping for 3 hours. She sleeping for 3 hours. She was sleeping for 3 hours. She has been sleeping for 3 hours. She have been sleeping for 3 hours, or she had been sleeping for 3 hours. Think about it. Okay, if you say she has been sleeping for 3 hours, again, you got it right. We're focusing on the length of time. Okay? Number 4. I working as a teacher for a long time. By the time I retired. I was working as a teacher for a long time. By the time I retired. I have been working as a teacher for a long time. By the time I retired. Or I had been working as a teacher for a long time. By the time I retired. Which one is the answer? If you say, I had been working as a teacher for a long time, by the time I retired, you got the right answer. Because we have one thing that continued for a long time, and something else followed it. Number 5 and last one. I living in Canada before I moved to US. I was living in Canada before I moved to US. I have been living in Canada before I moved to the US. Or I had been living in Canada before I moved to US. If you say, I had been living in Canada before I moved to US, you got the right answer. Thank you very much. Let me know how many scores you got in the comment. This is Marking English with Abby, and I hope this content helped you, and now you have clear understanding of what past continuous, present perfect continuous, and past perfect continuous are. Till I see you next time, take care of yourselves, guys. Bye.